past few weeks I tested Unreal Engine 5.6 with the new CLO3D LiveSync tool, which is now available in the Fab library, so it's much easier to install. The workflow slightly changed. There are some massive changes in the layout of the user interface, and I want to guide you today about all the updates and how you can integrate them into your former workflow. If you do something for digital production, which means you pre-simulate your garments in CLO3D, bringing them to Unreal Engine and render them with the movie render queue in the sequencer. We don't speak about movie render queue, just the sequencer. We're starting with the Epic Games launcher and opening it, and visit the Fab button on top and start exploring. Now Fab should open in your browser, and in the search bar I'm typing in CLO. Now we have the plugin here available on the Fab marketplace. I added it already to my library, but in case you haven't, make sure that you signed into your Epic Games account, and then you can just add it to your basket. It's absolutely free. And the next plugin we need is Substance, and same here. Just add it to your library, and so we can go back to our Epic Games launcher and open now the library. And I first make sure that you have the latest Unreal version already added, and in case you haven't, here's the little plus button where you always can add like also former versions from Unreal. And once you install it, you can just scroll down, and here I have a library. I'm searching again for CLO, and here you see install to engine. Make sure that you once install it to the right version. I did it already, so I don't have to do it. And same for Substance. Install, and if you did it in the past, it's telling you you cannot install the plugin, blah blah blah. And it's important it's installed to your current version. I hit now the launch button here on the right corner. Now we want to start a new project, so I'm selecting film, video and live events. I take the blank one and just by the defaults. Make sure you have the correct project location, and I'm calling it my project tutorial, and hit the create button. Our default level is here activated, and what we need to do next is to enable those plugins we installed to our engine. So now you find it here, edit, plugins, and again I'm typing in CLO, selecting CLO, and Substance, also making Substance available, and we can restart our project then. I'm actually deleting the starter content just because I don't need this presets from them, and I have the environment light mixer here open, and just create by pressing the buttons on atmosphere and a sky. And I also go to the selection mode and go to landscape. Here I select 4x4 and create, and hitting back to the selection mode. In this workflow I also want to show you how you can add the garments to your Metahuman. So I need now to add my Metahuman from Quixel Bridge. So I go to this little add button here, select Quixel Bridge. I go to this little Metahuman button, and if my Metahuman's actually not showing up here, it might be that you're not logged in or signed into your account, so do this first. I'm signed in, and I updated already some Metahumans that I can use them for 5.6. So I'm selecting this one here. I go to cinematic. It's already downloaded. If not, just download it here. If you have issues and need a new Metahuman or need a newer version of it, you can also select one of your former ones and then start Metahuman Creator. It links you to the web browser again, and then you can just update it. I'm not showing today how to update Metahumans in Unreal by itself, which is possible for now, but yeah, it's not part of this little workflow. So I'm adding now with the plus button the Metahuman to my project, and enable missing, import. Import is not necessary, so I close it and I restart again. Now I can close the Quixel Bridge, and I also go back to my content browser. Now you see a little folder with the Metahuman here, and I select my Metahuman and adding it to my current level. Just placing it, and I zero it out. Make sure that I'm kind of center it to my level. And I select actually the other environment stuff besides the landscape. So let's do it like this and move all the buttons a bit to the side that they're not like interact actually or disturb us while we're doing this stuff here. For my Metahuman, I go to edit. I have here the viewport. I want to get rid of the little flip-flops, so I can either select them directly here or I go to the left side to feet, and then I can just like with this little arrow reset the shoes and have nothing on the feet. And what I'm also doing is like for the LOD sync, I'm switching the LOD to 0, that it's always in the best quality and not like scaling it down when I'm kind of moving a bit away with my camera later and having a lower quality for my Metahuman. So compile and save, and then I can close this again. Actually, my light is a bit too harsh. It's not something I would do completely now. I'm just like to have it a bit nicer for our workflow. I just move it a bit around and lower it also. Now I have some animations which you could, for example, download from Mixamo. I have another video where I'm showing how to do that. I bought latest some nice animations which I will import now, and I show you how you can import any animation. So with the right mouse click in the content browser, I moved back to my main content folder here, and with the right mouse click I'm actually creating a new folder. I call it animation. I'm selecting some of my animations and then I'm drag and dropping them into my animation folder. This window is popping up, and what's important is that you select for the skeleton your Metahuman base skeleton and import the animations directly to it. So you don't need to do anything further. You have already your Metahuman as the animation, which is like super convenient. And you can send it to CLO already. So we're heading over to CLO, and make sure that you have the latest CLO version available, which is 2025 in the beginning saying, and everything starting from there is for the new CLO LiveSync, which you find in the Fab library. So this is important. I'm skipping updates for now, but you can always update if you prefer or not. So you always see the version of CLO on the left corner, so you can ensure, even if you kind of missed something, that you have the version available which you need. And I want to send over now my Metahuman once in a base pose that I can fit and drape my garment to it. And then I also want to send it over with the animations, so I can save the first frame of my animation as a pose. And I can then just transition from one pose to the other, from the base pose to the walk pose, that I don't have to fit the garments to the other pose. And I show you how I'm doing that. I decided to take this animation, and by the way, you can like just switch between the imported animations here on the side and just select one of them. I'm taking this walk strut number 3, but I'm first like starting with this base pose, and for the base pose I can just select one of these test animations from the Metahuman. So I just selected the first one here, which is F-toe calf animation, anim. I select it, and then I also want to select my face mesh. So therefore I'm doing this with a little plus button here, and then I have here my face mesh for my Metahuman. Just select it and that's it. Before we're able to send it over, we also need to go to the selection mode in the main window and open CLO Marvelous Designer LiveSync. And you see already here a new sidebar is opening, which I will explain in a second. So I'm going back here, and now we can go back to our animation window, and in the left corner you find LiveSync, and now you can send it as geometry crash. And waiting a moment, and you see in CLO it's sent over, which is perfect. Now we can just go to File, Save As, Pose, and I have already saved this in my folder Space Pose. And I do the same with my walk. Double click on the animation I said I want to use, and then again go to LiveSync, Geometry Cache, Export, And this might take a bit longer because now we have a bit of a longer animation cache. So I have it here now, File, Save As, Pose, and I just save it here. No, I just like walk, strut, 3, frame, 0. Name it however you want. As more complicated, as better it is, because later you cannot remember why you named files like this. In past, it was also possible to save as joint motion, but actually it's not possible. And that's the main reason why I'm saving it as a beginning pose, because we need the transition and want to change the dress from A to B. So with Ctrl Z, maybe? No, it's not working. So now we open our beginning base pose again, and I'm always selecting pose and joint translation because I want exactly the pose I have, and I don't want to have the size from the avatar as it is now. You see it's a bit stretched because the animation I selected is stretched, kind of, but I like it because it makes the body a bit longer, so I think it's nice. So I'm selecting pose and joint translation, full body, and I don't want to align the bottom to the ground. Maybe I want. Anyways, it's doing nothing. I had this issue before, but we could just like simple send again this animation to our CLO. And now I'm adding my garment, which I called ruffle dress, and I just want to add the garment and the render properties. No, render properties, I don't care, because we're not rendering in CLO. Missing USD layers, we don't care, we just like create new. Also this window we can just like close. And here I have my beautiful dress, which is already finished and matched to the avatar, because I'm not showing how to make this. Just a little side note, I use unified texture maps, so I show it quickly in Materials UV Editor. I prepped for each material one UV tile, and it does not matter, you can lay and stack them on top, or you can just like place them next to each other. We use one tile for one material, so I created here my layout. Maybe I could have done it a bit better. And I have 3 different materials which I'm using, so that's all fine. And then I'm switching back to my 2D pattern window and make sure that everything is like ready to start with a pose. I'm opening now the pose we created, walk, start, frame 0, and again I'm using this. That's working perfect. Now we go to our animation window, which is the editor, and it's now new that it's kind of like popping up to your, just as a sidebar. And the settings I'm doing actually before I send my animation over is I go to frames per second and I change it to 24 because I'm using the same setting also later in Unreal Engine in my sequencer. Now we are ready to send the animation back. Yes. So if I go now in the timeline, I see I have my animation. Being wild and change the skin offset to 1. I think 1 is good. You can also go for 0.50. Sometimes I still have then clipping issues, but 3 also, yeah, we're losing some drape if we have 3 and it's not that nice. Now we can start simulating. I actually see that I need to clean up the animation a bit because the thumb is hitting the garment. I'm not doing it now, just for the purpose of like showing you the new workflow. I, as mentioned, have another video how you clean up animations from Mixer Mode in Unreal Engine. We could even do it here, but I'm afraid I don't want to change too much, and I also don't want to make it too long. So just quickly to show the workflow, it seems that it was working. I can leave the window now open, and past we had to close it. And now we go to our sequencer before we start with CLO. So I want to create a new level sequence that I can showcase the animation. Therefore I go into this little like clap thing, add level sequence, and just like, don't name it crazy. And I'm adding first my Metahuman. I close this window here. I'm selecting the Metahuman control rig and delete it because we want to add animation, which is this walk strut 3. And if I would, maybe I delete this one as well. Is it then better? She's looking so stiff. If I'm not deleting the Metahuman control rig, the body is not moving, so you have to do it like this. So we have our beautiful animation here. I'm going to the front frame again. And now I'm switching from the animation mode back to the CLO LiveSync. And maybe I explain first what kind of settings we need to do. So on the top you see the update button, which we need to press to update our garment from CLO. Means whatever changes we do, we can just hit the update button and it's updating then the full file. Then you have save, which we need for our animation today. It's just saving your garment or pre-animated garments with the geometry cache when you make the selection. And as clause, I still have to discover a bit further, but this is like when you want to save your garment with a physical asset, so you can simulate it in Unreal Engine instead of CLO, which is nice for gaming characters, and save your file in between. It didn't crash so far when I was using now Unreal Engine 5.6. It seems to be very stable, but you never know. So before we hit the update button, I leave this as it is. I want to have a single object, not multiple objects. This is a big mess. It's like saving all your pattern pieces as single items. Then I'm keeping it thin. Also for the file size, it's much better to keep it thin or not thick. I have unified UV coordinates, which are, because I'm not using a pattern repeat, I used textures I created in Substance Painter. And then we need include cache animation because we animated in CLO. This one would be include garment simulation data would be if you save it as cloth. We don't need the avatar included, also no props, and we keep this translucent material. Maybe we can do now opacity mask, but in past it was not working. Maybe it's now. Yeah, whatever. We keep it now like this. No, I make opacity. Let's check it, because we can just update. Because now you just press the update button, make sure to be in either simulation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, don't ask me again. If I make mistakes, I will do it. Now it's updating, and for me, it was always working quite fast so far. I simulated now the garment like in a short walk cycle, like 150 frames is not that long, but I also tested it with 250 frames and was still kind of like way faster than in the past. And also you get a nice preview before like saving all the content to your file. So actually I have to say with 5.6 it's quite faster than before. But I don't want to lie, I hope it's like now getting fast. Yeah, let's see. Okay. So we get a nice preview and it's not matching. We're getting a preview and you see already how the garment is looking like. And if we go back to the content browser, you see now that we have USD assets, and here we have all the stuff kind of pre-saved before it's like really saved. But to check out the simulation, I'm saving it now, save object, and I'm making in the content folder, I make with the right mouse click a new folder and call it CLO, and then it will create a folder. And then we'll create a folder for you. So I'm going back to the content browser and you see we have the CLO folder, untitled and geometry cache. It's naming the folder however your garment is called, and I didn't save my file, so that's smart. Geometry cache, and then you have the garment and zero out, and I go to the sequence and adding my garment. So I'm drag and dropping it here from my outliner to the sequencer. And we have the little plus button, and I add geometry cache. And something is not matching. Yoo-hoo. Because here we need also 24 frames. Okie dokie. So what we need is, here's the unframe, 121. So I'm deleting this one now. And what I'm doing is make sure that you're here at 0. I'm selecting my avatar and delete it, and then I'm going back to my animations. I'm sending it back to CLO. Okay, we need something. No, I don't have a head. Why are they different? Oh, 151. That should fit. Okay, we try again. 30 frames. Let's go for 30 frames. Let's go for 30 frames, just like it worked in past. 30 frames, and then I'm adding my garment and geometry cache. Oh, it's still. We change here back to 30 frames. Deleting this one again. So delete layer and sending this one over. Don't forget the head, and I'm animating again. Now I'm, I think, translucent. It's not making any difference actually. Now I'm updating my file again. Now it's merging, but it's clipping. Wonderful. So one last improvement to make is edit blueprint and go to body, post, disable post-process blueprint. And now we have the avatars, not longer clipping. Yes, that's it. One thing I want to show, I created a lace material with an opacity map, and as you see, it's not having this enabled here. So you can select your item just in the window or in the outliner here, and then I have down in the details panel my materials. I'm selecting the lace material with this little folder button, and now I have it opened in my content browser. I double click on it and going to the material properties, material property overrides, I'm selecting blend mode and go to mask. Shading default lit. It's not looking so well actually when you do it like this, but it works really well in the path tracer, and I rendered out. I created a little scene, made all my settings. I'm actually putting all my settings together for the path tracer because the material and also the quality of the rendering overall is much higher, and especially if you're not working in real time and want to have like crisp and realistic renderings, path tracer is really amazing. I just figured it out some weeks ago. I will do a separate tutorial on this, how to use a path tracer. It costs a bit more time, especially like for rendering, but the material outcome is so much better, and also the rest. It's quite comparable with Blender. Probably not when I'm using it, but when other people are using it. That's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you have any comments, leave it also in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel. This will be very fun. And yeah, as mentioned, I will do more tutorials on CLO3D and Unreal Engine, especially, but also Substance and other 3D tools, whatever comes into my hands.